All right, let's get started. Sorry, I was just trying to fix a small little issue, and so obviously I ain't working. And I was gonna be like, oh damn it, I wanted to set up Welk tonight. Damn. All right. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, I gotta sign in. Do I have my password and all that kind of? No. All right. After stream type of thing. Hopefully they fix it. But yeah, that's really annoying. I don't. Oops. Sorry. Got my keyboard stuck on Mac settings. I need a new keyboard soon. I've got to see if I can get one. Looks like I can do that here, but I don't have my GitHub account on my Chrome. Yeah, I don't want to go through all that process, but not a problem. What we can do is we can at least start. Give me a couple of seconds. YouTube should be working. I'm just going to refresh my page. Connect your encoder to go live. That's what we're doing. Live chat. Don't have any errors on my side. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. Sorry about that. I was just seeing the blank screen. I was wondering what's going wrong. We're going to have a look at this. So we've got to think how users want to actually utilize Welk and what the process is going to be. For example, when someone clicks on a button, how can we tell the user, hey, we're now going to be doing something else? And when we actually do that something else, how the button's going to react. And how we can make that so generic enough that doing it's pretty easy. So I've got one of two things that I could do. So VueJS slots. I'll do that. Oh, wrong side. Run that off to the right. There you go. So you guys can actually read. We have a slot function, which is what we're going to be using for the button. This is actually a really good example because this is what we're actually going to be sort of essentially setting up. We've got our fancy button. In our case, it's just called button component. Oh, we've hit an ad break. All right, I am going to get back to that. Terribly sorry. For those on YouTube wondering what's actually happening, we run ads every half an hour on Twitch. That's just to stop the pre-rolled ads because they suck. So yeah, just get to see me do this. Sometimes you'll see Socks, however, she's having her I want to be on the window moment over there. So yeah, hopefully everyone's going well. Yeah. So I'm just solving the cube. And we've got about 50 seconds left of the ads. So, and it's starting to come that time of year where the ads start actually happening on my Twitch channel. So, yeah. I don't get many, but yeah. I wish there was the ability to just turn it off. Alright, so this is almost done. There we go. Got about 20 seconds left. Hopefully everyone's going well. Hopefully your weekend was well. So yeah, as you can see, it's still light here, which I'm really lacking. Yeah, but it's starting to get darker earlier, which is upsetting. So yeah, oh well. Okay, welcome back everyone. Let's jump straight back into it. So at the moment we're doing something like this. So we're passing through a slot. That way we can make out these button components as generic as possible. However, when someone clicks on the button, we want that feedback to the user. And how we're going to do it for Welk, we've got to figure out, because we'll figure it out for the button, because that's how we're going to do it for every other sort of component around this. So yeah. Now let's just jump into the code. I've got to make sure I've got the latest here, so I'm just going to git pull. I'm actually going to go over here, npm run dev. So we've got the latest code. I don't know why I did that. I might need to do a few settings things in here. Give me a couple of seconds. All right. I don't think I got monarchy on here, do I? Size 26. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. We want to go into source. We want to go into components. We're going to open up the button. We're going to open up not the button test. Sorry, the button component itself. I'm going to close the tests. We'll get back to the tests today. And for those wondering what that black blob was, that was Socks as she was running past. So this is pretty much it. And then in here, we've got a slot. Now, initially what I was thinking of doing was passing through an enum of object state. What is this editor? This is PyCharm. So, just as a full, sorry, not PyCharm. This one is WebStorm, done by JetBrains. Full disclosure, I actually get it for free. Socks, will you stop sitting on the mouse, please? I get it for free because, just give me 2 seconds. If Socks stops sitting on my stuff, JetBrains open source license, or pricing, I should say. Oh, hang on. Because both Welk and NearBeach are open sourced. So yeah, I get it for free, essentially. Yeah. And Socks, you need to move over. All right, so there is a bit of complexity in here. Now, the idea which I want for Welk is to simplify stuff. Make it easier for the developer to implement on their end without having too many attributes to set up for a single component and so forth like that. So I will probably strip this object state enum out of here, and then I don't know what to do with it is disabled. So yeah, if that will, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly read this because I know we can have multiple slots on a single component, and we're going to have a look to see if I could have the basic sort of slot and then probably one dealing with the disabled status and so forth like that. So, we've got the fancy button, click me. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Slot content, yep. With the slots, the fancy button is responsible for rendering the outer button and its fancy styling, while the inner components are provided by the parent component. Yep, easy done. Another way to understand slots is comparing them to the JavaScript function. Yep, sweet. Slot content is not just limited to text, it can be other valid content. For example, we can pass multiple elements, and yep, which is what we already do for the cards. So, yep. Render scope. Slot contents has access to the data scope of the parent component because it is defined in the parent. For example, fancy mention button. Yep, all right, cool. Here, both message interpolates We'll render the same content. Slot content does not have access to the child components data expressed in the VueJS templates. Yep, all right, sweet. Socks, will you stop banging my webcam around, please? Thank you. There are cases when it's useful to specify fallback, i.e. content for a slot to be rendered only when no content is provided. For example, submit button. All right, cool. Type submit. Fallback content, which we could do that, and I kind of like that. For Welk, the default being submit. Yeah. That way, an empty button is not shown on the screen. So we can go into here and change that. Now, when the submit button component is all right, cool, and then you just do something like that. Yeah, that's easy. Oh, sorry, big yawn. I do apologize. And so forth like that. Named slots. So there are times when it's useful to have multiple slot outlets in a single component. For example, base layout compared with the following template. All right, yep. And then in here we'll have slot header, slot. All right, cool. And a slot name outlet without. Are you okay? Just. You're like wanting people to pay attention to you. You're like, yes. A slot outlet without a name implicitly has a name default. Sweet. All right, cool. And I'm just realizing that this is, all right, cool. There we go. In the parent component base layout, we need to pass multiple slot content fragments, each targeting a different slot outlet. This is where the name slot comes in. So we've got the template, base layout, template, yada, slot name header. Yep, all right, cool. So this would be template header and then default. So what I'm going to test out is I'm going to do a similar thing. And we're going to test it. Here the code content for all these slot layouts. Yep, all right, cool. When a component accepts both default slot and name slots, all top level non-template slots. All right, cool. Don't sit on my keyboard. Thanks, socks. I was actually reading that. All right. There we are. All right. Nodes are implicitly treated as content for the default slot, so the above can be also written as. Yep. All right. Cool. All right, they've just got, they're calling it templates. Okay. Yep, header, main. Okay. I kind of like that. And yeah, there's two things which we can actually do here. Sorry, I'm just giving, just having a little think. All right, I'm going to say this out aloud. So we'll have a button. And then let's say someone clicks on it. What I could potentially do is have another slot of here with the text in there. And animate this and disable the button itself. All right. However, that being also said, there are cases where we want the button disabled. So, for example, if you have a couple of fields. Did my mouse just stop working? No, it's just this thing. All right, for example, you might have a couple of fields. All right, that are required. And then you have a button. Now, you might want this button to be disabled until both of these fields are filled out correctly. You don't want an animation or anything like that on the button, so I'm going to veto my last thought, which was like, had something else. But that also being said, why do we want to disable the button? Let's figure that out first. Why do we want to disable a button? Give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to make that text really super large in a sec. I've got a... All right, not a problem. So, one. Form validation has not been passed. All right, so they've got to fill out a couple of more fields before the user can click on the button. All right, cool. I think that's a good reason. An action is currently being performed. All right, that's another really good one. So for example, they click on the button, that button, let's say, saves your data or submits a form and stuff like that. So you click on the button, it sends the data off to the server, and we got to wait X amount of milliseconds or seconds, and then we get a response back and everyone's happy. So that's an action currently being performed. And what we kind of want to do is when you click on the button, we kind of want to notify the user, hey, we're going to be doing something, or we're doing something for you. Please wait. Trying to rack my head for other cases which don't fall onto this. Or on any of these two. User doesn't have permission. So, for example, if the user logs in, they don't have permission, and there's a button there, it's just disabled. I don't prefer that. I like to actually hide the button from the user if they don't have any permission. It just cleans up the screen. Other things is we're waiting for data to get downloaded. In which case, or site not fully loaded. In which case, yeah. A bit bit iffy on this one. So usually if you're at this sort of state, you want some sort of ghost to sort of appear. Thus, we'll be using suspension in NearBeach. Thus, the user just sees those, I think they're called skeletons, not ghosts. You want a skeleton of the form to appear, or of the data to appear. You don't want this button to actually show just yet. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. I think, racking my brain, that's all I can think about at the moment. So, let's figure out how we can solve this. I'm just going to add in a couple of spaces between all of them. Hey, thank you. Hey. Do that so everything lines up. All right, I am going to pick another button. So form validation has not been passed. Can I have a new text area, please? What the fuck? My God, how hard was that? Sorry, just not in the mood for stuff to not work. All right. So form validation has not been passed. I think it just as simple is disabled should pass through there. We're just disabling the button itself. We could pass through a state. That's another thing we could pass through. In which case we'll like a needs validation state or something like that. But then that's adding complexity onto the system already. Down here, an action is currently I think having another just another attribute come through. And the reason being is if we have that come through, we can change the button. And then if we do the named slots and so forth like that, we can then allow the whoever's using this to have their own sorry, my brain's just decided to pack up shop. If we've got the named slots, what can actually happen is if someone clicks on that, we go is action running equals true. We can then spin up the named slot. We can then have it so that the developer can pass through their own sort of action when that is actually happening. At the same time, we can override the is disabled. That won't be a problem because you don't want to click on the button when an action is actually occurring because you just spam the same action. Now, if the user doesn't have any permissions, I think fallback on the is disabled, it should happen. Also, a fallback on the wait for the data is loaded. I think that should be like that. So in a sense, we're gonna drop the enum stuff because I think that's just gonna be too complicated for end users of Welk. We're just going to go sweet. We're going to go is disabled. All right, that's just going to be a type boolean. The default is going to be false, and the required is going to be false because we're just going to default this all to false. Just in case there's a button that doesn't need to be anything like that. We can simplify all of this. So I'm happy with that. And then is action running. In which case, if it is, the user better go run and catch it. Ha 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 ha. Sorry, that joke. It's going to be type boolean. The default's going to be false, and the required is going to be false also. So I think that's all we need. Now, we'll still have the disabled status here. So, but that needs to be a computed thing. Oops, didn't mean to click on that. I should be just using the keyboard. So we want to import the computed element from Vue. Oh, and we need the defined props too. No. All right, define props. There goes socks. You get the belly rubs. You guys can't see that. Wait. All right, no, she's stopping it. All right, she's like, nope, no one can see it but you. Define computed. So this would be const is disabled equals. No, it's already a yep, we're just going to do all of that. And then from here, what we need to do is we just return. This is where I need to go const props equals this. That will be props dot is disabled or props dot is action running. All right. So if either of those are running, or either of those are true, we're going to disable this button, and we're going to be happy about it. So I want to go down here and I just want to go button is disabled. So we're just passing through whether or not the button is disabled. I'm going to get rid of all of that for the moment. We'll have a look at all of that later. All right, so I'm getting distracted by the cube. I should put this over here. All right, I think that's a lot cleaner. And what we're going to do, we're going to go jump back into here. We are going to have a look at this here. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to have slots that are named. And a default slot. So, oop, no, piss off. going to have a default slot being submit. All right, and slot name equals, and we run this when an action is running. And I'm just having a look. Action state. So we've got submitting results. I mean, that's terrible. Or I should say updating as a default. Like so, that way, everything looks nice. Now we do have no, we don't have a disabled CSS status. Another thing which I want to do is, if I open this link over here, nothing opens. I want to set this up so that if you're developing on this, you can easily sort of test locally and stuff like that. It's going to be absolutely just the simplest code possible. I also need to set up the docs, so we're going to be using the VueJS, and we've got a button component which I've got to go through and change all of this and so forth like that, which we'll do. I think I just threw this together very quickly, as automatically as possible. So yeah. Another thing which I've got to do is I've got to start changing all these variable names, because they'll most likely clash with a variable name that someone will be using in their own project. And we've got to think, how far down with the variable naming do we want to go? So for example, border radius, that covers all 4 borders. Do we then go one step further and then create another level where we're like, you can change this, the top left or top right or top bottom, sorry, not top bottom, top left or top right and stuff like that. How far down do we go? We can do this. It's not too difficult at all to do. The other thing which I want to do with Welk is I want to continue the usual trope of, and this will be button component, like so, and name, have a class name like this, like so. Yeah, I just want to be consistent with everything. Alright, so and if I do everything properly on this button, then I can it's sort of like a template, and I copy it all the way through. Anyway, we've reached another ad break. This is Socks. You get to see her on the big screen, sweetie. The camera's down here. Camera's right there. See, right there. See? She's like, I know. She likes looking at the screen, and I don't know if she's trying to replicate what I do, or she likes the pretty colors, or she's just seen herself in the video and she's like, oh, I look so cute. And go, yeah, getting those back scratches. You're like, oh yeah. All right, we've got about 45 seconds left of the ads. But yeah, I've just got to think how I want to tackle these problems and step through them slowly. Don't just jump to a decision, because it's going to affect the other components. And if I do it correctly here, and then I do it correctly everywhere else, I don't need to refactor stuff. I hopefully won't have any technical debt with this library, which will be nice. Because the aim now is to remove a lot of the technical debt in NearBeach. And I don't want to then introduce it here. So, yeah. Oh, and we're back. Sorry, I just got distracted for a little bit. Alright. So, yeah, one thing I want to do is I want to give some customization to end users. How deep I want to make that customization, I don't know. So, for example, a lot of this padding, we've got it hard coded. It might be one of those things that we just put in as a variable. And then that way the end user who's using this can go, no, I don't like those. I want to do this. Yeah. I'm just having a think how I could do that. How I could give them all of that. It might be the case that I go, no, I'm not giving you all that ability to customize this. But then again, this is meant to be a shell. The idea being is it's a shell so you can use it. The defaults will be good, but overriding the defaults should be really easy to do. And what I want to do is set it up so that you can do that using variables. So yeah, but then if I create so many different variables, and yeah, it just becomes hard if you create like 10,000 different variables. Because I could create a variable for the compact and the tiny and all that kind of stuff. That's meant to be like that. But at the same time, someone with enough skill can actually change this. Anyway, I'm going to raise the desk. I need to stand. I've been sitting all day. Oh, God, the camera's... Oh, I see why. I can fix that problem. There we go. It's just the laptop cord. Ah, it fell off anyway. Alright. Let's fix that. Hey, get back here. Thank you. Alright, move those out of here. Right there. Alright, cool. Yep. Alright, so let's go to the CSS. So we've got our components. Just going to minimize that. We're going to open up our styles. We've got the particles. We've got the general thing here. And then we've got the style CSS, which is just to import the general sort of stuff. The general variables are split into two. You've got light and you've got dark mode. Some of those will need to also have their dark put in too. Not going to be too much of a problem. But it's best if we do that sooner rather than later. Also, up here, we'll see that we've got some stuff up here. So info hover, document links hover. That's all NearBeach stuff. Oops. Task text, yeah. All right. All of that is specific for NearBeach. So we're just going to get rid of it. That's border stuff. So we'll probably move that out of here. Yeah, we'll probably move that out of here. And we'll probably end up calling these color variables. Yeah. And then, yeah, the color variables there. And if we go in here and we do border variables, like in here, we can do something like that. I'm just going to, actually I needed that open, but that doesn't matter. I'll close that too. I'm just going to cut these out. I'm just going to paste them into there. We'll figure this out in a second. What I'm going to do, I'm going to delete all of that. So we've got that and that. That should be more like that. There we go. That should be fine. So those two lists should match. So we've got the root and we've got the dark. We're not worried about anything there. Then we've got the styles. And then it's going to be border variations. All right, first. Import colors first. All right, cool. Secondary variables. Okay, cool. I'm just telling myself later on that I need to import the colors first because everything's in there. With the borders themselves, we'll have border radius, border style, border width, and then we'll have border border I'm thinking of potentially doing something like this. That way, if you want all four changed in one foul swoop, you just state that, hey, we're using a border radius of this. Now, 5 pixels, we might change that. I don't want to use pixels anymore. I want to use rem. All right. Potentially, yeah. And then I just got to do this. So we've got top, left, top, right, bottom left. Oi, why is the escape button not working? Bottom right. It's pissing me off now. So that way you can change this, or you can keep that and then feed in, let's say you got one corner being a bit different, you can feed in that. Now the border style, yeah, by default we're going to have solid. No, that's going to be, thank you. All right, so we've got the border, top, right. Oh my God, that escape key is pissing me off. Bottom, left. Oh, it's because that thing pops up and, border width. All right, 1 pixel is going to be, ooh, all right. And then what we want to do, border top width, will be var, and then border width. We want right, bottom, left. Right. So it's a lot for us to make this generic as possible and be able to be customized and so forth like that. However, I don't mind it. All right, one thing I want to do for moving forward, let's go into the new design mockup. What I want to do, I want to copy this. We want to go back into wealth. We want to paste it in. Sweet. That should then put it in dist, I think. I've got to remove that. Got to remove the fonts, because this version style, we'll definitely be getting rid of that. We'll just get rid of the body style completely. Yeah, that's not going to load up anything at all. We don't have a main, do we? No. We've got an index. I'm just trying to think how I would lay this out so if another developer came along, they can look at it and be like, oh, okay, I can ignore that because that's just dealing with the test environment. And what I could say is local environment.ts. I can add in none of any of that, but that's perfectly fine. It's not failing at the moment. That's perfectly fine. And then what I can do here is I can go local. Screw it. Let's just put everything into local. All right. I'm just going to open up this once again. I'm just going to copy a couple of files across. I want sites, I want new, I want source, I want the app, and I want the main TS. I'm just adding both of them in for the moment. We're actually going to get rid of the main TS. I just wanted to see how it's built up. I'm going to get... we don't want to soft delete that. We're just going to delete that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to refactor this one. So I'm just having a think how I think main, yeah, main under local, main does sort of imply that, hey, this is the main thing. We're just going to get rid of everything we don't need, which is all of that. This is going to be a very basic app. We're going to, instead of call it app, we are going to refactor that, rename it to a local app, which I'm going to have to do that. Now the styles themselves, now it goes to style.css, so we're just going to go style, no, we're going to really screw up that. This is going to be styles.css. So that should all link in there. We've then got this to do this. We're just going to go back over here. We're just going to stop that. We're going to rerun everything again. Pre-transform error failed to load, source local environment TS. Resolved that. Yeah, all right, cool. Not a problem. I've screwed up on the index.html. It's now just going to be main.tx like that. We've got that. Failed to. We're happy with that. We're gonna solve that this second. So we're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of the stores, header component, all of this. All of this. We're getting rid of all of that. We're getting rid of all of that. We're just gonna have main in, actually, no. Gonna have it like that. And I'm just gonna go, well, UI, local testing, easy to, jeez, it sucks. Stop it. No, you took out my mouse. And then here, we're just going to go button component. And we're just going to leave it like that. Now, this will be like that. This, because this is all local and stuff like that, we just do it like that. And then we've got this. Now, we do have that lovely beige look happening. We do have a bunch of stuff happening here, which we're not happy about, but that's fine. That is perfectly fine. All right. I've got that set up. I'm also a bit concerned about how I've named these. Sorry, my brain is just running at like 10,000 miles an hour. Think about 10,000 other things. What I'm going to do, so we have button radius. I'm going to find and replace in files. Sorry, border radius. I'm going to put WLK for Welk at the start of all of them, and I'm just going to replace all. So it's got to find in files. What's replace in files? Control Shift F. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I want the shortcut. Control Shift R. Socks, do you mind? Socks. Stop it. Aha! All right. WLK out the front. All right, sorry, Socks. I need my mouse. No, you're going on the window. All right, let's replace all. And another thing which I haven't done is I haven't added it here. So WLK, and then I'll put back the border like that. And I'll do the same down here. Actually, before I do, WLK, and then I don't know how to get to this button without Alt Shift Enter. All right, sweet. W, L, K, B. All right, so that gives us something unique. The reason why I've done that is because someone could actually have that variable name already. And I think Welk sort of separates it out. In here, we're going to have to do the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do it the easy way. Welk. There we go. Actually, I kind of want to undo that, and the reason being is I can just find and replace. All right, sadly I need to WLK. Actually, that's going to replace a number of them. That's actually going to be awesome, that one. There we go. Oops, socks. Come on. All right, so that will be WLK text, Welk. All right. Highlight. Highlight. All right, cool. Border. Border. Primary, and that just becomes primary. Well, not many instances of that, but that's perfectly fine. Then we got secondary, and then that will become secondary. Easy done, and then we'll have danger. Print off, thank you. All right, cool. Danger. WLK. Danger. Warning. Success. Alright, so that should be all the variable names now changed throughout the whole entire system, which is good. Let's go back to the button. And I'm not too worried about how this page looks. We'll neaten it up and we'll make it look really, really friendly later. What we would also potentially do is create a local style, which will import this also. In fact, let's do that. That way we get to manipulate the body and stuff like that, and it won't actually get compiled into the final product. So very much like this, we just do an import. So at import, however, we've got to go style, and then we've got to go style.css. And it's having a problem. Am I... Yeah, I know that's not going to work, but... Alright. I make boo-boo. Alright. It's a single style. Not styles. Alright. Have my head on wrong. That's perfectly fine. So now I've got that done. I can then do an index. That will be source local TS. And then with the TS, this one, we can get rid of all of this and we can go local CSS. All right, and then that will fill out that. And that way, what I can actually do, I'm just going to close all these tabs because this is just getting a bit messy at the moment. I can import the CSS. I can then go body. Margin is going to be 0. Padding is going to be 0. And we can make the padding something. Oh, but we've just hit an ad break. All right, cool. Yeah. I'm getting cleaned by Socks because she knows she's in trouble whenever she sits on my mouse constantly. She's like, no. Now she's like, I can clean you. So yeah. All right, where's my cube? There it is. So yeah, I've just got to figure out how I want this to behave from now on. I don't want to be spending, let's say, a month or two on this, maybe more, and then come back and be like, I need to refactor this again. I don't want to do that. It is going to be a pain. So yeah. But at least now we've got the testing environment in. What I can do is I can throw together some examples. These examples people can look at and be like, all right, cool, it's meant to do this, this is how it works, and so forth like that. Locally, I can't design it properly, so yeah, I've got to figure out how I want to actually design it, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, welcome back everyone. Let's jump right back into it. I should also get a drink of water soon. I am getting rather thirsty. So we've got the submitted update right there. What we can do is in the index, in the local app, we've got this. Div class equals row. Div class equals so I'm just having a think how I want to actually state these names. And I can get rid of all of this. We can actually have a main in here too. All right. I can't think of a proper name. We should also have a heading. All right, cool. The following are test examples of each component. Please review the test and make sure the component renders out correctly. All right, cool. What I can do is I can just bump that off to the next line. Actually, I can do that because I have linting, the power of linting. So what I can do, class equals test, and this can be component. So what I can put in here as an example, I can go calling component as, sorry, I just need to and I don't think that will, yeah, it's going to render in that thing. So what I can do is basic component with no classes attached. All right, and then what we can do is we just go button component / like that. I can then get rid of that thing. We can close this because it constantly opens that because I constantly smash the escape button and hit the F1 at the same time. I just need to get this all sort of working up. So we've got our main, and then what we have is rows. Don't you dare sit on the mouse. We'll have display flex. Flex direction is going to be a column. Line item center. Max width. Actually, I'm going to apply the max width as 600 pixels there. Going to use white smoke as the background color. Oops. I thought it was going to let me, I'm not worried about this screen at all. this is going to look horrible, but it's just for me quickly testing components and so forth like that. And then in here, what we've got is a row. Actually, this will be flex direction is a row. Align item, align justify. We're just going to go flex start, easy done. And then what we have is we've got test and component. And what we'll actually have is we'll have width is going to be 50% each. I'm not too worried about that. All right, cool. Yep, easy done. Yep, and then just going to do padding, so 2 and 0. Yeah, all right, cool, that's it. This is just going to look horrible like that, and that's perfectly fine. And then what we can do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can just go 8 to there. Paste it in a couple of times. Button component with no attributes. All right, cool. Button component with primary class. So in here, we'll just go class equals primary. Component with secondary class. So, button component as compact. And yeah, the idea is we're building up sort of this type of grid. I might find a better way of doing this. I'm not, once again, not worried about mobile, not worried about anything. This is for developers testing on this to be like, all right, cool, here's all of what this looks like and how this is meant to react like, and so forth like that. We'll even include a disable state and so forth like that, which we should do now that I think about it. So yeah, all right. I might include this as a table. I might look at what Bootstrap is doing and Tailwind and all those other libraries are doing. Component as disabled. Is disabled equals true. So submit updating. And we can already see a bug in here and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So I've got that out. Let's actually go back to the component. Let's scroll up. This slot here we want to disappear if there is no certain action. So we're going to do something like this, and then I like to have the VFs up at the top. Like so. So that will only appear if there is an action running. This will be VF, not is action running. So if we go back to here, notice how it now drops that down. And if I go in here, I'm just going to copy this. where action is running. There we go. So we've got something different. All right. That's compact. I know I've got a tiny somewhere, but let's go back. Yeah, I'm just going to close that. I'm happy with this. We'll keep going on. Because this is set up now, I now can work with this. All right. I'm just doing one little tiny thing. CSS button disable because I'm not 100% sure. Hover, yeah, all right. So it's like that. All right, we could do that. I'll need to also do that for all of those variants too. And I'm just wondering, so if we go back to this component here, notice you can't really tell that it's disabled, which is annoying. So we've got to find a way that we can notify the user that it is disabled. One way to do that is a color change where we make it as light as possible or as dark as possible. We do have a hover state that sort of does that too, and we've got to do that with the colors also. One way to do that is to make the text opaque. So if I go in here, I'm just doing this as an example. We'll have to probably move this down everywhere else. So this will be at, and then we'll go disabled. I'm just going to go text text opacity. I'm just wondering if we can change it on just the text itself, not the whole block. So we don't want the background, we just want the that's where I did see a how to change the text transparency into that. Yeah, we can do this. Property to the div or the p or the span you want to make turns. And by the way, the font tag is deprecated. Uses CSS. All right. And the coding guy, how are you? I don't know if you've heard much. We're building Welk. So Welk will be a essentially a component library, a VueJS component library that we're building. It's going to be a shell of one. So the idea being is it'd be dumb components, essentially. The reason behind all of that is, as I sort of building all of this up, I sort of kind of want to reuse the components elsewhere. So yeah, and Socks is cleaning herself on the windowsill at the moment. She has been sitting on my keyboard and mouse most of the day, so she's not allowed on the desk for the moment. So yeah, she'll jump back up soon. Don't you worry. Text opacity. See, they've got it here. Oh, this is old Tailwind. This is version 2. But that's kind of what I want. Text opacity. All right, so RGBA. I'm going to do 0.5. I'm going to pick a red color. Where's my Welk? All right, so just gonna make that as bad as possible. Okay, so it's plausible. I don't. I just key in a number, and then if I need to change it, I'll click on this thing and click somewhere else. Or do you mean the position? Red, green, blue, and then the alpha, which is part of the command there. So it is possible. Just wondering. That's kind of what I want to do. Somehow use the var color at some opacity. You can't take the existing color value on the and apply an alpha channel to it. Namely, you can't take an existing hex value and give it an alpha and use the result to. However, custom properties allows you to convert hex to RGB triplet with the RGBA. So that's like that. I mean, we can test this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Welk border. Actually, we didn't actually set the border color. All right, I'm going to have to go and have a look at my color variables. And I'll probably rename a lot of these to I'm tossing up whether or not I want to pass through because everyone will have their own branding and they'll set their own colors and stuff like that at a higher level. I don't want them having to reset values to override that. It might be an idea that I cull a couple of these variables in here. We can still keep the primary hover, secondary hover, danger hover. But then again, if they're changing those because of the branding, they might as well change all of those. Alright. So yeah, let's use text red. Let's go over here. So this one is disabled. It's still, yeah, it's not wanting to change. hang on. Widely available color mix in maybe. All right, let's just copy this. All right, let's go color. Let's paste this in. Let's do something like this. Let's just cancel that out. Let's do something like that. So color mix. This will be var welk text red, and then we want something like alpha. Oop. Ah. All right, I don't know how to do this. This is new for me. So in lab plum 60. Let's go back into here. They've got color mix in sRGB, current color. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Let's bump that up. Let's get rid of that. Rid of that. Let's go var welk. Let's go text red, and then I think they've got current color 20%. Color equals salmon. Transparent. No, it's not changing that at all. All right, let's just Google this. Turn what are they? I'm just double checking. HSL. Color. Variable alpha. Transparent. All right, so we've got HSL, transparent color, color mix. Okay, let's just do that. Let's just get rid of that. Let's go color. Let's just paste that in. I'm going to get rid of that. So we've got the color mix in sRGB. That will be the welk text red. And that's what we want. All right, cool. And GB, how are you going? And what streak? Cheers, thank you. So yeah, getting this slowly done. Yeah, I just realized I probably should rename a lot of the color, the text colors and stuff like that. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I'm just thinking about these text colors, and that should also be a variable. That will be fine. So it means I go back to here, and now I'm thinking of text. I think the backgrounds are fine. Busy a few days? Oh, fair enough. Working on CSS and small improvements. Yeah, fair enough. We're working on the component library as we speak. And I'm just trying to think, how can I solve a bunch of problems and so forth like that, and give myself enough variations. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be using background. I'm going to file mask that to just the view. Oh, I am. With the drop downs. Alright, so might not be the best thing to do. Yeah, and we've got the tooltip too. That will need a background. All right. I'll bring back what I said. We will need those backgrounds. We're using light and dark. All right, so I'll keep the backgrounds in. I'll do that. Yeah, building app colors. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I'm currently sort of setting all of the variables up for this, so that when we go in and build all the components, people have the ability to sort of reset the colors and stuff like that really easily. Yeah, probably won't be long till the GitHub code stream is usable. Ooh, nice. That is good to hear. Vars are fun. Yes. Yeah. All right. So we've got the background. Then what I want to do, text. Or the border colors shouldn't be in here anymore, because that will be part of this process. And in reality, I need to actually say that they're, well, we've reached an add. I've got to make sure that they've got color at the end. All right. Especially for colors, just going through all the alpha and pre-alpha stuff. Yeah, I'm still figuring out all the best naming stuff. I've decided to use the HSL. I'm just come across that color style thing, so I'm definitely going to use that. That way people can manipulate that and there's not like thousands of variables. I'm going to be right back. I just need some water. I've been talking a lot. Okay. Also realized I haven't eaten, and oh, look at that. No one tells you when you get bald what's left. goes crazy. I think I'm gonna have one more haircut and then buy myself one of those hair trimmers. So yeah. Anyway, welcome back everyone. So one thing I want to actually do is I want to rename this. So notice how we've got style, radius, and all that kind of stuff in here. We're going to do the exact same thing. Oops. So we're going to copy that. We're going to paste it in, and then we're going to put color. We're going to have to use the American style just because we don't want to confuse people, and that's pretty much it. So welcome border color. We're just going to say, yep, replace all of those. Oh, we didn't replace it here because of the file mask. And then we're going to do the same thing down here, so that way people have the ability to change it. So we're just going to copy that 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got the border, and then it'll be top. Actually, right, bottom, left. We're going to do the same with this one. And then that would be right, bottom, left. All right, I've mocked up something. Top, right, bottom, left. One, two, three, 4. And then color muted. All right, cool. Oh, and I didn't do this. All right, I'm really silly. Trust me to make stuff harder for me. So yeah, the idea of this is to give people the ability to be very if they wanted to change the top color and stuff like that and just the top color, give them that. Oh god. Sorry, the escape key, I have to hit it a couple of times. It's getting annoying, if you can't tell. Yeah. And I'm building it in now, so that way I know someone will ask it for it if they start using this. And I'm like, you know what? It is something simple. I can build it now. I can handle it now. It's just doing something like this, and then in their CSS, they can change this and then one of these. And it should just do it. So, yeah. All right, so that's all done and dusted. I'm happy with that. Again, we're going back to the color variables. We're splitting this up into background, text, and color sets. Like so. So, yeah, we've got the background. I'm tossing up whether or not to put this in its own little thing, but I'm kind of happy with it there. It's fine. It's fine. So background, text. I'm just going to do that and then go primary. Do that and then just paste it in like that. There you go. Cheating. We don't need the border stuff in here, so I'm happy with that. I made a general setting panel for the user to set colors to certain set. Oh, nice. Yeah. The idea with this is it'll have defaults. These will be the defaults. From there, the user can override it with their own stuff. So yeah, I might look at what Bootstrap is doing with text. We can do that with the get Bootstrap. We just look at the documents. So go into, that's text alignment. If I just go to plain old text, just got alignment, text wrapping and overflow. Yep, all right, cool. They've actually got primary and stuff like that. And I've got all this other stuff, which we're not going to implement. Once again, this is a shell. The idea being is you override the colors and then your CSS overtakes it. Reset colors. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have much. Yeah, they just got this. Primary, secondary, success info. More. The thing is, I'm now more leaning on keeping those. Because the user can pass through their own classes and all that kind of stuff. They'll be able to take over all of the CSS themselves. And that's the idea of this, is if you don't know how to do it, it'll default. In which case, I do want to keep a little bit of the defaults in there. But if you know how to set your classes and stuff like that, it will just inherit everything. I think that's going to be the best solution for this. All right, so I'm going to keep those in. That's fine. We're going to go back to this. That's failing. Because it's just updated all the... Oh my god, I'm an idiot. All right. How many errors are there? All right, there's not too many. Good. Let's go back here. All right, so another thing I want to do is put this in a value. And I want to go... well, text opacity. And we're going to go 65%. And then what I want to do over here, var welk text opacity, like so. And then if we go back over here, we've still got that. And I think 65 is going to be very hard to read. This gives us the good test of being like, all right, what about 45%? It's a little bit better. Now, I might change that. So, welk text. I'm just going to leave it as welk text. There we go. We might change that back to 65. The reason why it didn't look good before because it was on it was red on a red background. And that's looking a lot better now. I know those who don't have the best eyes are going to have problems with that. Alright, in which case then I will change it to 60%. Now we're just 55%. Alright, I think that's better. And then we should change the background to... Alright, so what I wanted to do... Hover and enable. Alright, that's fine, that's perfect. And disabled. Background color, we are essentially just going to copy this because it's going to be the exact same sort of code, but instead of the welk text color, we want the welk primary color. And there we go, that's looking a lot better. And I don't mind that the borders are showing, that's fine. I think that adds a little flair to it. And that clearly is a disabled button. All right. Now we're cooking with CSS. I'll need to copy this for all of that down there. So I'm just going to yank those 4 lines. We're just going to go down here. We're going to paste that in. And instead of this, we're going to go welk secondary. We're going to hit escape way too many times because for some strange reason, this ain't working for me tonight. So I want to go to line, I want to grab all of that. I want to paste all of that. I'm just going to paste all of these very, very quickly. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use a mouse and I'm just going to paste these all in like this. Now the loading animation. That's no longer needed. Because that was when we were looking at NearBeach and implementing this for NearBeach and stuff like that. A user can do this. They can pass that information down into the slot with the idea being this, it will just work, you know. All right, sorry, I'm getting distracted with this stuff here. All right. Cool. Rubik's Cubes. Alright. We just now need to fix this all up. And then when we're happy with this, which I feel like we're getting happy with this, I feel like we're at the end of the button, we're going to do all the unit tests. And then we're going to decide how we're going to actually show all the different components. And I think we're going to probably lean back on the bootstrap style of things where they've got some code down here and they show the components up there. I think that might be a nice way of doing stuff. Yeah. And then I can add on stuff on either side so people can navigate quickly to certain things. But yeah, it'll be one of those things we will work on and we will increase. All right. Yeah, I've got to think how to do that. Anyway, that's a next minute problem. We've just got to make sure that all these primaries and secondaries and all that kind of stuff work. So this will be Welk Danger. That will be Welk Warning. See how many times I have to hit escape? This will be Welk Success. And that will be Welk Info. Alright, cool. We don't have all the buttons in here and all that kind of stuff, but that's fine. What I want to do is... do you want to do a box component? Have them all rendered in there. Yeah, let's quickly throw that together. Because yeah, this is getting a bit messy in here. I want to get rid of that. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm just going to get rid of that. We'll be using that in a second. I just want main, max width. Let's go 1400 pixels. Margin, auto, cool. Local testing. Let's go H2 buttons. H3. Classes or yeah, classes. And we go button component. We're going to do no class here, so no class, and then we're just going to go button component. Oh, I should put this in a. Sorry, give me 2 secs. We'll go div class equals not code block, but we're going to call it a result block. Like so, we're just going to paste this in here. We're just going to go button component. Oh, fuck off, socks. Sorry, she's been doing that way too often lately. All right, you. No. You're in trouble. All right, we got primary button. We've got no class button. Yeah, she's just causing trouble lately. It's just getting a bit dangerous when I'm trying to figure things out and she just deletes stuff. So yeah, that's a big no from me. She knows not to sit on the mouse or computer. So primary, oh yeah, secondary, danger. This will be warning. This will be success. And this will be info, and I've pasted one extra button. All right, so if we go over here, we can see all of this working like this, and we're all like, yay! I'm happy with that going that way. That's perfectly fine. And then what we want to do is down below, we'll go div class equals code block. And then we'll just have a text area. Uh, 2, 4, 6. I'm going to go, let's go 10. Oh, let's get this filled out. Looking at AI, it's putting rows in twice. So that makes perfect sense. What we want to do then is we just want to copy this. I'm just going to paste it in here like so. And then when we come over here, we've got it like this. I'm just going to make it width 100%. But we'll do that with CSS. So if I refresh, should be able to go width 100%. Yeah, like so. Easy done. And that way people could be like, oh, okay, cool. All of these are no class primer button, and so forth like that, and test it out like this and be like, yay. All right, cool. So we've got the classes done. And I'm just wondering if we should put those in a sort of thing. No, you're not allowed up. We should put those in a thing, but let's first... I'm just wondering if I should make those a section. Yeah, I kind of like it as a section like that. That way we can ID equals buttons, classes, like that. So we can have a menu and so forth like that later. And then what I want to do is essentially copy all of this. So we've got, no, it won't be classes, it'll be buttons disabled. Like so, it is getting dark. Oh wow, it's 8:40. There you go, sucks. She's now mad at me because she was going to jump up onto the thing. And I'm like, haha, sucker. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to vbind is disabled equals true, down all of this. I'm going to cheat here. Like so. And then once again, we're just going to copy these. Oh my god, what was that? All right. And that will be the button component. All right. So going down here, once again, I shouldn't spend so much time on this because this is just going to be like this. It's just for visual testing purposes. So we've got the section, and then in the section we won't deal with the headers yet. Once again, I'm not dealing with all of that. The result blocks I'm fine with. We're just going to go No, I need to go down a couple of knots. All right. That's not a problem. What I want to do is then section dot code block width is going to be 100%, and then we've got the text area underneath that, and then that's going to be width 100%. And then I get rid of that, and I'm happy with that. That's perfectly fine. Once again, I'm not going to spend too much time in this. This is just meant to show what's meant to be happening. Yeah. All right, the next thing I want to do is visually show what happens when we pass through is action. One thing I do want to do, before I forget, default button component. Oh my god, this editor ever let me do stuff how I want it to sometimes. Drive me nuts. Go here, thank you. Sorry, I'm just, it just pisses me off at times. And I really should be passing this plain component through. All right, and then I should be doing that here too. All right, does that to you too? Yeah, it's annoying as hell. And sometimes, especially in Python, it'll start, even if you're indented in, and you hit enter, it'll start at the very, very left. You go to hit tab, and then it fills out some random junk in there. And you're just like, no, I don't want you to autofill stuff. I just want you to behave in a sane manner. It just drives me nuts sometimes. It's getting to the point where I'm looking at NeoVim and being like, you know what? I might need to spend a few days learning NeoVim because I am getting sick of this editor doing stuff which I don't want it to do. All right, are you going to sit on my lap? Are you going to sit on my keyboard and mouse? Or are you going to be good? All right. Say hi to GB. He might give you a treat. You want sane? Yes. I just want sane. It just drives me nuts sometimes when the editors just do stuff that you're not expecting. Autofill, for example, sometimes is either tab or enter. It's never consistent. And then sometimes if you've got the AI popping up, it pops up with 3 different options and you're just like, which one do I hit? Like, you're constantly changing if it's tab or enter or this and that, and it's just like, just be fucking consistent. And it fills in the thing you don't want. Or if I've had to turn off the AI, and the reason being is, now this happened almost a year ago now. It was actually editing parts of my code not in focus. So it was editing stuff that was down the page that was not on the screen. It was just bonkers. Oh, it's just... Alright, that's my little rant about this. Right, in your bed. Alright. There you go. It's in your bed. In your bed. Gotta show people how you can get into your bed. She just knocked a treat underneath the thing. There it is. There you go, socks. Surprised Max didn't come running in. Alright. And welcome back, everyone. Yeah, I think they fixed the AI things. However, I have not turned it back on. I think it was annoying me so much to the point that I'm just like, nah, let me do what I want to do. All right, so this is doing all of that, which is what we want. Now with this, we haven't passed through any other things in here. So what we're going to do is show the user how that's done. And that just requires us going in here and copying these lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I'm going to copy those 7 lines. We're going to paste them. I'm going to add in a little block up there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the template hashtag action state and then end the template. I don't know how that works properly. Are you just gonna go now, socks? You've just been given treats and you're like, no, I'm done, bye. Mine has Copilot in every part of it. I don't mind Copilot, but it's everywhere in my ID. Yeah. Yeah, there are times where I just don't want it taking over. Because there's a reason why I'm doing things I'm doing, and it just takes over and it just adds in some random stuff, and you're just like, no, stop. The same with autocomplete. There are times where I spend more times typing now than what autocomplete does to speed up the process. And the reason being is I'm constantly having to correct it. Like where, WE, comma, RE, so where are you? And stuff like that. It will change all the time. And I'm having to go back and recorrect it and go, no, fucking let me type. It's the first word. Don't correct the first word. Drives me nuts. But the funniest one that autocorrect has changed is I typed to someone, I don't eat chicken. It changed it to children, which is very correct. I don't eat chicken, nor do I eat children. But I think it's implied that I don't eat both. So... all right, it's just got it like that. Don't sit on my mouse. She's like, oh. But probably does not exist on type. So because I don't have anything in here, updating, or what should I do? No class update. I don't know if that will work. Let's have a look. No class update. All right, sweet. But I also want to add in a BR here. We are going to do it like this. The reason being is there's a lot of information in here now. Yeah, all right. And this will be template, hashtag action state, and we're going to go primary update and the template. I'm just going to do something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to do that. So we've got primary update. This is going to be secondary. Sorry, socks on my arm. And then we just pass through secondary. Like now, when I hit escape, the Vim bindings stop on the first escape. Anyway. Dancer update. Alright, danger update. There we go. That was my brain just going boop. Nearly wrote dancer again because I just had dancer on my mind. Oh, that will be danger button. Warning. Warning. Oops, can't spell. Alright, I am success. Alright, cool. This will be info, the last button. So now we've got all of this in here, which I'm very happy with. I now need to copy that and put it into here. So no class updated, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So, you know, users will be like, oh, that's how you do it. And be like, yep. And I'm just going to go whoop and go 4 and then do that. Like, yep. Cool. And then that's in there like that. And I'm happy. I mean, in reality, all of that should be on a new line. Hey, that's fine. And I don't know why that's having a problem. No, don't remove attribute. It's part of you. All right, so now that we've got all of this out and about, so we've got the buttons, we've got the disabled, we've got the, oops, I put disabled in twice. That needs to be fixed. So that's not disabled. That is going to be is action running. Like so, there we go. Cool, and we can see all that is working. I'm going to do HR instead. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better. Not that this looks like anything good at all, but once again, we're not spending any time on this. It's just to get everything out for us to visually test it, and so that other people who are developing can develop locally. So that's all done. Let's do the unit tests now. So if I go into the buttons, we've got a bunch of unit tests at the moment, but these are for all the old NearBeach stuff. So it did specific things when you clicked on it and stuff like that, which once again, these are dumb components now. So we're not expecting it to do much. So what we want to do is let's think of tests we can do. So we want default values. Button disabled and not disabled in appropriate states. Slots. Slot information passing through. And the big kahuna, component loads in. All right, that one's going to be the easiest one we can do. We can use VueTest for this. We can also use VtTest. I bumped that over there. So essentially, test display message, message component, props hello world, pumps through, and then that's the hello world there. We've also got VtTest 2. Yeah, I like it. I use a mixture of both. So there, are you jumping off again? There you go. She's getting old. I don't want her jumping from this height anymore. One day she's just going to do it and really hurt herself. And it's just going to be like, oh, socks. All right. So, overview. VtTest. All right, getting started. All right, cool. Define the config. Yep. Give me a test. Oh, those are projects using that. Examples. Yeah, we'll use a GitHub example. All right, cool. So we're going to open up tests. We're going to open up this. I'm going to open up that. Oh, it doesn't open up the... Oh, all right. Sorry. I thought the thing would open and the window would do this, but it didn't. So, renders the name and counter, to be in document and stuff like that. All right, yeah. I mean, at the moment, I'm more leaning on doing the wrapper. It's commonly used with a test runner, so yeah, we'll be using Vite as the test runner. All right, a crash course. Yeah, we've got to mount the wrapper. Well, hang on a minute. I've actually got number input. Number input. We actually went through all of this. So renders label and when input exists, hello world. Okay, no, I kept that simple. Well, that's using render, which is from the Vite browse. All right. Doesn't use the wrapper. And this does. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna do something I don't usually do on stream. All right, cool. I have a simple component, a VueJS component that I want to write some unit tests for. I will be using both VueTest and VtTest. Here's the component. I'm just gonna cheat. Actually, we'll get everything in here. All right, so all set up. Yep. For what we should test, we need enable by default, disabled. Yep. All right, cool. Yep. So button component. Yep. Disabled state. All right, cool. Slot rendering. All right, sweet. So yeah, we might split the tests up. I just want to ask it one more thing. How can I test to make sure the component mounts? And then I'm going to do a smiley face. And Jet Pinky, how are you going? Hopefully you're going well. Mount successfully. All right, cool. And that's what we want. All right. So how do I want to do this? I'm going to do that very shortly. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in here like this. This will be button component.test.ts. So idea here is the wrapper happens, it mounts successfully, and we're happy with that. I need to also test enabled by default. All right, cool. Yep, so we've got that. Is enabled by default. We mount the thing, get button. All right, cool. So it enabled by default. Just wondering if I should just async all of this. I'm going to say yes. Right, oops, wrong button, there we go. So we've got stuff like that. We'll have const wrapper equals mount button component. I do something like that. And then this is where we do something like const button equals get wrapper get button, and then to be false. All right, cool. I like that. That's simple and easy. Check component can mount. Check to make sure the button isn't disabled. Easy done. All right. Now I'm going to have a look at my code. We're going to figure out. All right. So I don't need to worry about the actions coming through. I don't need to worry about the defaults of that. We just need to worry about that being correct. We've got to make sure that the default is showing. So what I want to do is go into here, default text will be submit. We get the wrapper, button component, check default text. Now this is expect. This will be const. No, this will be. This is where I've got to check this because I'm not 100% familiar with how to wrapper.text. Okay, cool. All right, I forgot the wrapper, the submit. Okay, cool. And then it default text, actually, hold on, for action. What is it called? Is action running? Default text will be, I just realized I had it all the way up there, updating. Oops. All right, and bump that. Yep, we need that. This is where we do something different. This is where I'm looking at the wrapper and stuff like that. Mount button component. All right, this is where I am going to split this off into multiple lines, like so, and then they've got slots. Oh, that's for that. We don't want that. Mount component props. And then we just do the props. So is action running, and we have true. Yep, it'll be like that. Cool. And then check default text. That's just going to be expect wrapper.text to contain, and then it's just going to be updating. Like so. Easy done. So if I'm going to run those tests. So we just go over here. We're going to go npm run to see what we've got built. So npm run test. Not E to E. Ah, cool. I just brought up this. So we've passed 5 tests. We haven't passed any of the number tests or anything like that. That's perfectly fine. We're not too worried about the number tests or any of those other tests at the moment. We're just focusing on our button component. Even the form group I'm not worried about. We're going to close the form group. We'll go through and fix those ones up later. I know the number tests I'm happy with. If this is the number component I'm going to use. Trying to remember how I was doing. Yeah, anyway, don't worry about that. I think this is the number component I'm going to use, yeah. In fact, I should rename those because they're all specs. All right, I'll come back to those. That's fine. Don't worry about that error for the moment. But we can mount the component and we can check the defaults. And I'm happy with that. And then what we want to do is we kind of want to run another describe button component. This is just trying to think the. So when we went to here, it was telling us to then we should test that, the disabled. So we should do that. And then the slot rendering is the other one. So disable, async and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about that. Describe, button, component, slot. Yep, all right, cool. So we've got all of that. Now, what we want it is going to be is disabled flagged async like that. And then what we want to do, const wrapper button component, because this is going to be big, we want to line this out like so. And then what we want is props is disabled. It's going to be true. And this is where we get the button. So that will be const button equals wrapper find dot button, and then we want to expect button dot. Oh, how did they do it? All right. Oh, button dot element dot disabled to be true. All right. And what we want to do, we want to copy this, and we just want to paste this in like so. And then is action running. Flagged button will be disabled. All right, flagged button will be disabled. He's done. We're all happy with that. I don't need to do much more with that. I don't want to test the slot stuff up here when you disable. We're going to test it in the slot section. So what we're going to do, go down here. We're just going to copy the slot stuff. So default stuff is slot. You know what I'm saying. All right, we're just going to copy this. Yeah, we're just going to copy this. We're just going to go here. We're going to go and undo that, and we're going to state it. Default slot renders correctly. And we're going to paste that stuff in. We don't want to deal with this one just yet, so we just want to deal with the submit form. So we're going to say modified button text. In here, we're going to say it does not contain submit. And we're going to say modified button text. Easy done. So the next thing we want to do is we want to paste this in. I'm just going to wrap it with a net. Default slot. Is action running flagged. Appropriate slot renders correctly. Okay, cool. And we have hit an ad break. Yeah, so we're getting there. We're getting there. So yeah, thing is, once I'm happy with how the button is set up, the other components should follow a lot quicker than this, excluding the ones I haven't actually built, just because it'll be following a similar sort of template layout, being like, this is how I want to do it, this is how I want to handle the CSS and the variables, this is that, and so forth like that. Yeah. Hoping it works well. But yeah, this also means I could potentially get out another version of Welk tonight. which means I can then update NearBeach a little bit more. Yeah. Anyway, welcome back everyone. All right, we're just going to jump onto the workstation. So we've got that. What we now want to do, we want that running. What we want is, I'm just going to put default modified button text. And I then want to say action modified action button text. All right, so what I want down here is action button text. And we want to say, we don't want modified button text in there. So because it's action running, it should be switched over and all that kind of fun stuff. And we're like, yeah. All right, now I do have the Vite test running. I need to get rid of those. The form group test 2. What's that about? That actually might just be very, very simple. The form group stuff. I'm happy with that. That one's fine. Now that says spec. We want to rename that to test. I'm going to get rid of this. Don't worry. I've got a couple of copies of that test. So don't worry about that. I'm just getting rid of it because it's clogging up this at the moment. So number input, yep. Render error message. Yeah, this is another one we just want to get rid of for the moment. I don't know why it's going into end-to-end testing, which might be a thing we do. These are dumb components. I don't think, I'm tossing up whether or not we'll do end-to-end. It will most likely be just take a screenshot and see if everything works. But I need to exclude it. So what I need to do is I need to go down into the Vite test. We got to exclude. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to quit that. It's going to run that. It's failed too. That's perfectly fine. It's still picking those things up. What the hell? All right, I'm just going to get rid of those. I'm going to get rid of Playwright for the moment. It's something we can put back in. I'm not too scared of taking it out. Playwright tests, we're getting rid of. Docs, environments, yeah, test coverage, we've got test coverage, we've got test. I'm going to say unit test there, test coverage, docs dev, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get rid of Playwright. All right. It's not like we... Oh, it might be connected because of the browser stuff. I'm not too worried. Worst case, I've just screwed up. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the node modules. We're going to go npm install. I'm going to see if I've mucked up. Worst case scenario, this is on Git. I just git checkout what I've just done. So we have npm run. We should now have unit in there. Npm run test unit. Everything runs. That's what I kind of wanted. All right, so it's connecting up. Oh, but I did. By all technicality, I did, buddy. All right, I'm just going to close that because we're quite happy with that so far. I could close a lot of these. That's ready for retesting. Slots we're happy with. That we're happy with. I'm just going to close all of that. All right, cool. That was weird, but hey, we did it. So, it's passed 9 tests in 2 files. Took less than a second, which is great. Button component pretty much is done. As you can see, we've got button component, disabled slots, forms. I will probably do the same thing with the forms. And Sherry, hey, how are you? Sorry, I just saw your message. How are you going? Day off tomorrow. Nice. So yeah, that sounds awesome. All right. So I'm at the moment very happy with this button component. I'm just thinking what else I could potentially do. I could fix up the form group test is just that. Yeah, that's all we need for the form test there. Yeah, there's not much testing we need to actually do for the form group. Some of these, once again, these dumb components, they'll only need very minor tests and stuff like that. All right, so the next thing we've got to kind of do is the card. And that is incorrect for starters. That's going to be like that. Once again, this has a slot in it. We can copy what we did with the slot stuff. We can go a couple of layers deep with this because we'll have the header and the footer stuff. Though we should be testing the header and footer stuff in the relevant components. We do also have it. The index. Don't worry about the index. Now, does the button have an index? Yes, the button has an index. All right, cool. Every folder has a test component and an index. All right. So card footer. What I want to do is I want to add a new TypeScript file. I want to go card footer.test.ts. We're going to do the same thing with the card header. Card header.test.ts. Easy done. And we're going to do the same thing with the card itself. We're just going to go card component.test.ts. We're just going to add that in. And what we want to do is we're going to have a quick look at the card footer. This is just a slot sort of case. Oh, the media. All right, I just discovered something. Oh. These are going to be dumb components. I've also realized that I should put Welk out the front of all of these classes just to distinguish them. And I'm trying to think at the moment, this piece of code here is very specific to NearBeach, which means that if I were to put this into NearBeach, I wouldn't put this into Welk, I would actually put this into NearBeach itself. The reason being is other people might want this behaving differently. This is a special case for us. We also don't have, we don't have large screens or anything like that. But then again, the padding and no. Yeah, this is a difficult one. All right, yeah, that's got to go into NearBeach. The padding, we'll keep the padding. Yeah, so I'm starting to use REM. I've also moved away from RGB. I'm using HSL. Yeah, I'm just playing around with other things at the moment. So yeah, we'll keep the padding in here for the moment. This might be one of those things that would come back and probably create variables for these. Which, yeah, we could actually potentially do. Still use hex color, fair enough. I've got to think about this. I'm going to create a new issue. I'm just going to go card, footer, CSS needs to, CSS padding needs variables. And that's pretty much it. The idea being is that the user will be able to modify these variables. So you got top, right, bottom, and then left set like that. If the user doesn't like that, we've got to give them the ability to overwrite it. So yeah, this is definitely submitted. This will be assigned to me. This will be, we're not going to put the subsystem or version or anything like that in there for the moment, but we are going to create it. How we're going to actually deal with this, I don't know. Oh, Alright. Be gone. It is getting late. Alright. Oh, what test failed? Boo. All of them. Alright, I'm going to have to think about how I'm going to do that one. Because that one... Yeah, we'll come back to that one. But that's how I would do that component. Now, if we go back to the form group test, it's going to be pretty much the same as that. So if we go to the card footer tests, we paste this in, we're going to go card footer. Straight away, we're going to go and do that. I should have just done a find and replace. In here we want card footer, card footer slot renders main content, and that's kind of what we want. That's pretty much it. All right, so I'm happy with card footer. I really want to change that into variables now because I know I'm going to have to do it for the other components. So let's just do that. Let's scroll down. Let's go styles. I'm going to add one in and we're just going to go card variables.css. I'm going to add it in. Very similar to the border one. All right. We're just going to put that over there. We're just going to go root. This is where we're going to go Wilk. It'll be card footer padding. And it is going to be 0. And I'm going to go top. I'm going to go var. I'm going to do that. And then we're going to paste it in 3 times. And then we're going to go right, bottom, and left. However, for the bottom, we're actually going to put 0.75 rem. So we're actually overriding. We're doing something random like that. And then in here, what we need to do is padding var welk. Oh wait, have I? I made a boo-boo. Yes, sucks. Alright, give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to fix up this mistake first. It's not fixing. Because also I've got the file mask on. And there we go. Alright, I fixed up that one. Whilst I'm also here, I'm just going to go... Okay, cool. Adding Welk in as the class thing. Now, socks. You wanted up, didn't you? Yes. Whoa, 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 whoa. Careful, 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 careful. You're supported. I've got your butt. There we go. All right. Welk. This would be card footer top padding. and var whelk card footer right padding. Oh, that will be bottom padding. Left padding. All right, I'm just gonna go whoop back home. This one is having a problem. And I am going just to break these out on new lines. Like so. And there we go. Jumped. Good. All right, she sat down, not on the mouse. All right, we are going to change this to whelk. Oh. All right, cool. Done. I'm happy with that. That means that if we go into here, we've got the forms is still working. We don't have the footer working. Okay. So I want components. I want card. I want the card footer. And we should card footer. Yeah, I don't know why it failed, but we'll have a look again. Yeah. All right. We're gonna do that. Okay. Maybe not. Let's There you go. There you go. Oh, piss off. And that fails. All right. Oh, it's form group. I've made a big mistake. That should be card portrait. There we go. Oh, it's right in front of me, the silly error. All right, done. The skill issue. Skill issue here. All right, so that is all done. We've got that one test running. We're all happy with that. We've got the card footer. We're all happy with that. We've now got to do the card header. Actually, I might open up the tests. I'm going to cheat. The card header is going to be pretty much the same thing. We're going to find and replace in here. So I'm going to go find replace, not in files, but up here, replace. We're going to look for card footer and replace with card header. We're just going to replace all. We're just going to look for foot. No, all right, sweet. We should have done all of that. Now with the card header component, so we go in here, we'll go into this in here. Once again, we're getting rid of this because it's no longer needed. And we need the whelk border radius. And that's pretty much it. So if we go over here, it's broken. Clearly, I've broken it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the card header tests. We've got the Welk card. Probably haven't done that yet. So yeah, I just haven't done that. So I need to paste that in. There's stuff I've got to remember when I'm porting over this. To rename all of this. It's going to be like one of those times where I just can just nut this out at a lunch break or something like that. Yeah. Cool. So from there, what I want to do is go over here. We've got all of those being successful. I'm happy with that. These particular components, once again, are very, very dumb. That's all we need to test for. Now, the last one we want to do is, I'm going to close this, I'm going to close this. It is the card component, and as you can see, it is just a slot. That's it. We just need the Welk out the front. Like that. And we're just going to grab this test again. And what I want to do, yeah, that Control R does something. And I need to learn the Vim bindings for find and replace and all that kind of fun stuff. We've got card footer and we're replacing with component. We're just going to replace all. I'm going to make sure that's lowercase there and lowercase there. And that doesn't work. That's fine. We're just going to cry. And the reason why it doesn't work is line 50. No, what? No, not 50. Come on. Get with the dream. Now, I don't know if it's this one. It is that one. All right. Yep, I've just done Welk card. Give me 2 secs. I'm going to see what I did for button component. Yeah, all right. No, I see it. Let's be consistent with this. Let's go back into the... Oh, I can't find it. Card component. There. All right, done. Frick. Component. It's the end of the night. My brain is... All right. Cool. So now if I go over and do this and then bump over to here, we've got 12 passes. Oh, and we're just hitting another ad break. All right, cool. I'm going to be right back. Bear with me. Socks. You're like, are you going to entertain them? She's like, no, I'm not. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to be right back. And then we'll see what I need to tackle next. Got about 4 seconds. Let's see if I can get these on in time. Oh, just on time. All right, cool. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, now, had a bit of a shower thought. Buttons. Accessibility. All right, so we've got buttons, blah, 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 colors. All of this is fine. I mean, we could potentially just copy those colors. But button tag does not need anything special to work. Use button as elements as long as you have add role equals button and add JavaScript to replicate the button functionality. All right, cool. You just use links. You add class visually hidden with descriptive text. All right, cool. If button contains an image element. Yep. All right. Yep. All right. So we've just missed one thing. We need a role in here, which is easy to do. There we go. That's it. I don't sit on the keyboard. Yeah, buttons will look different. All right, cool. Button role has a button role, has a link role. Yep, which is only works if click. All right, cool. And we focus jumps. All right, cool. Notice that the live demo where role equals button and controls don't function like a real native button when you press it. All right, cool. So yeah, I've just got to think, as I'm building these components, I've got to think about accessibility. Give me a couple of seconds. I am just opening up this. Well, sorry, it's got to be on the other screen because I have custom information in there that I don't want to accidentally share. All right, cool. So in here, you'll notice, oh, let me drag across. We've got accessibility at the moment. So we're going to look at the accessibility for all of these items. The idea being is we want this to be as accessible as possible for NearBeach because we want to improve the accessibility on NearBeach. Yeah. So that does mean I have to actually go back to some of these items and go, is this ready? As you can see, some of these are ready. That one can go there, the card can go there, the checkbox can go over there, and the toggle can go over there. So yeah, some of these are already constructed. We're just going down through the unit tests and stuff like that, which that's technically over there, I know, but hey. Internationalization, we're not worried about with Welk. The reason being is you will handle that yourself. You're able to overtake any of the dumb components with whatever you want. So yeah. All right. So I'm just having a quick think. All right. make sure nothing is in internationalization. I'm just going to get rid of that column from here because we no longer need it. Yeah, all right, cool. And that was it. So with unit testing, we do want to also include accessibility in there. Yeah, that's, yeah. All right, so going down here, yada, 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 add object and all that kind of stuff. Accessibility guide, I'm gonna have to do some more reading around that, but we've got all of that sorted. As for the card components and stuff like that, they're just simple div elements. They don't need accessibility, because you should be doing that accessibility before that you put stuff in there. All right, so what I want to do is I want to close that, I want to close that, I want to go back over here. We are looking for the card component. That will now go over to completed because we've done it. Form group we've completed. Button component, we just got to do that. We just got to do the testing. That will be, I'm actually curious. How would you unit test a button component in the test for accessibility? User referential. Is keyboard accessible? Okay. Okay. I can use Axe. Oh, that's with Jest. All right. Whoops. Library is a fork of that. It shows. All right, cool. Sweet. All right, I will have to have a look at that later. All right, cool. I'll need to do those other ones too. Yeah. I'm running out of steam. I do apologize. My brain's like going ba-ba. So we've done button component. Well, we've got to do the accessibility testing. We've done that, but now we've got the checkbox to do. This is a simple checkbox, but we should actually have a checkbox group, and this should belong under there. But also at the same time, the user might want just a single checkbox that's not connected to a group, which is perfectly fine. They can actually have that. So yeah, then that component should belong up here, and we'll have a checkbox group, which will then, yeah, all right, cool. All right, so yeah, I've just got to continue doing a lot of these components. I'll do a push tonight with this, because I'll be interested to see how it'll work with NearBeach. Yeah, and then what I'll do is I've got so many more to actually go through. And if you had a look on here, these are just the form ones. As you see, multi-select, all of that. We've got 41 in here, but those are also from other columns too that I've got to implement. So yes. Anyway, let's go raid someone. I'm calling it here. Sorry, socks, I need my hand. So yeah, anyway, thank you very much everyone for being here tonight. It has been wonderful. We got some stuff done. I've got a lot of work in front of me getting all of this sort of sorted. Yeah, hopefully I do get this all sorted. I'm dreading how much work this is going to be. So we're going to raid Hypnotic Games. Hypnotic Games. Sorry, I can't read. We all know I can't read. But we're going to raid this guy. He is a floating head. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Let's put him on here so you can hear him. I'm just going to do that because that's annoying me. He's on full health. All right, cool. Anyway, thank you very much. And for those on YouTube, thank you very much for being here. Sadly, you won't be able to join us.